Trevor, what's the analysis sort of brought out of the weekend? Because obviously you might have taken that at 5-3, but at sort of 4-5, a draw was the last thing you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we've had a good look at it, and we've obviously had a good look at the last 6 games, and look, we're doing some incredible stuff throughout a lot of these games, and we've got the emotional state right, we've got the physicality right at the weekend. What we didn't get right was that last 10-15 minutes, and we came under a lot of pressure that we created ourselves by back-to-back mistakes. So we've got to make sure we look at that and address those things, because at 27-14 in front with a scrum 5 metres from their try line, to go on and win the game comfortably, we suddenly went back-to-back mistakes and gifted them a score which re-energised them, and it was disappointing to come away obviously with that draw, and and that's pretty much been the story for the first 6 games really, and we've had a good look at that, and we've got to make sure we minimise those mistakes, especially in that last quarter.
And is there a job to be done keeping people on an even keel, if you like?
Well, look, I think the morale of the squad is really good. What we've got to do is give honest feedback and actually look at where those mistakes are coming from, and it's not generally just in one place. And so, look, the morale's good. They understand what the challenge is in front of us. But I think throughout the week, throughout the first 5 or 6 games, you've got to look at all the positive stuff that we are doing, and obviously minimise the negative stuff. And then we can become a good team, and then we can start climbing the ladder.
And is there an opportunity with Europe to, in terms of results anyway, kickstart the season?
Well, yeah, look, we're looking at the European fixtures that we topped the pool for the last 2 years. We want to make sure that we top the pool again and get into the knockout stages with home draws. So, it's a challenge and it's an opportunity for a few people. There's been some fantastic performances by certain people like Ross Moriarty and people like that. So, we can't keep using them all the way through the campaign, so we've got to make sure that it's an opportunity for other people to come in and perform, and also be able to go to somewhere like Bayonne and put in a strong performance and work on the things that have let us down over the last 6 weeks, but really push forward the things that have been going well.
13 players unavailable last weekend. How much room is there to actually make a few changes?
Well, look, people sort of roll in and out of injuries. Look, there's certain positions where we don't have a lot of depth with certain injuries at the back end of last week. So we've got to roll a few people out again. But it's good to see someone like Motu coming back. His first appearance at the weekend. So he's adding something to the squad. We spoke about earlier that it could hopefully be a return for Johnny May coming back in as well after a long stint out. So we've got some players hopefully returning, and like any season, you're always going to spend some of your weekends without certain players, and it's the sort of challenge of the squad and the depth that we've got to make sure that it doesn't affect us.
You mentioned Motu there. How useful has that been, sort of him coming back in? And obviously you look at the front row and scrum time, your area of expertise, no John Afoa of late, so there's a challenge there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and like Hibbs has been, I think, playing extremely well this season. Mott's is there to really drive the standards higher again, so if we can get them both performing at a really high level, then it drives the rest of the squad and it energises the rest of the team. So look, it's great for him to come back in, and obviously playing Super Rugby for his career, coming in and understanding European rugby, French Rugby Challenge Cup, all that sort of stuff, and it'll be a learning curve for him at the same time. And
coping without John Afoa?
Well, look, we know what sort of player John is and what he gives us. Look, it's a short-term injury, I think. If he can get through this week's training, then he's potentially available for the weekend. So we know he's an important character in the squad, and I don't think he'll be off the scene too long.
Well, we're looking at injuries. How are the likes of Jeremy Thrush, who hasn't featured yet this season?
Yeah, well, look, Thrush, he's had a frustrating 2 or 3 months with this injury, and it's just making sure that we get his return to play sorted out as swiftly as possible, because again, he's a strong character for the team, and we've got to make sure that it's not rushed back, and it takes its time. We sort it out and we get him back as soon as we can, but in the right way.
A word on Bayonne, obviously not in Europe last season, so they'll be keen to impress.
Yeah, look, it's always tough when you go down to France. It's I always find these French trips an enjoyable place to go because, it's a challenging environment that you go into and with French crowds and stadiums, etc. So, as a team itself, look, they've got some quality throughout their team, and you've got to make sure that we trust what we do, trust our systems, and make sure we don't get carried away into that sort of that French flair and that sort of offloading game. We've got to make sure we've got to stop that first and foremost.
Are all French teams pretty much the same, and all French crowds pretty much the same as well? That if you can keep them quiet for 20 minutes, then they might turn on their own team.
Well, I think it's like that could be in any stadium. The Exeter fans were quiet for certain periods of the game on Saturday, and but they found their voice in the last 10 minutes. So you've got to play. You've got to be on top of teams. You've got to play on top of teams, and you know that when you go out there, French teams are forward packs, especially big physical blokes. So you've got to make sure you shut them down first and foremost, to make sure they don't get their front foot game, their offloading game going. So look, if we go over there and we get out of system and we try and put out fires individually, then it's a tough place to go for us, and we've got to make sure that doesn't happen.
And I mean, this could, if you get a decent start to the group, this could be actually your toughest test in the group, couldn't it? Because with a couple of wins, you can almost take control of it and make life a little bit easier for yourselves later on in the group.
You always want to go out and win your first game in your group. Sets a bit of a marker down, and obviously you're in the front foot with wind in your sails. So look, wherever you go, it's going to be challenging, and we just got to make sure that we're fully prepared come Saturday, and we know the challenge that's going to be put in front of us. But I think with this group, I think we challenge ourselves quite hard to make sure that we stick to what we want to do and stick to our game plan.